So the big question is this: how are those in the self-storage industry like us going to be successful in today's market? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jim Ross, and welcome to the Self-Storage Show. Hi everyone, this is Jim Ross from the Self-Storage Show. In today's edition, we got a store spotlight on Ballard. I think everyone knows who Ann is, but she's president of marketing, training, and developmental services for Universal Storage Group. So, what's going on, Ann? How you doing?
I'm doing very well, like everyone, getting ready for the holidays.
Ugh, don't remind me. I blinked and it's already here again. I know it's the older you get, the faster it comes, I swear.
Yeah, like all operators right now, finishing budgets and getting ready for next year.
Yeah, that's always it's fun and weird at the same time because I somewhat enjoy it, but at the same time it's like, oh, it can drag on for a while too, doing those
Yes.
budgets.
Yes.
Anyway, let's kind of jump right in. I mean, again, I know who you are because I've been in storage forever. I mean, everyone knows who you are, but for those that don't, take a few minutes, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into storage, and where you guys are at now.
Well, I started working with an operator, doing all of his Yellow Page ads back in the day, and all his manager training, and his telephone program training, and his direct mail designs. And then one day he came to me and said that he wanted to buy some more of these and get a mini warehouse portfolio going. That's what we called it back then.
Yep.
So 25 years ago, last July, we've been managing self-storage properties, and we started here in Atlanta, and now we are coast to coast. We have properties, about 65 of them altogether, all the way from New York to Florida and Atlanta to the West Coast. So, yeah, it's grown quite a lot since we started out.
20. You said 25 years ago? Wow.
Managing, yeah.
Oh my
We
gosh.
started in July of 1993.
That's crazy. No, well, congrats. You're doing something right if you're sticking around that long.
Certainly have seen a lot of changes, let me tell you.
Isn't it nuts? Even just the last few years, it seems like it's accelerating how things are changing. So it's crazy to look at the whole timeline, how it has.
Yeah, the rate of change has just become exponential in the last 5 years. We love what low-cost technology has done to help us earn more money and make it easier to do the job. So we learn to be change adaptive instead of change reactive, and look forward to some things upgrading and improving instead of going, we didn't used to do it that way. So getting people to kind of change how they do things is always a challenge.
Oh, that totally. And that's kind of why I wanted you on the show too, because again, I know you've been there and done that, seen pretty much every kind of different scenario that's out there. And I know you've put together kind of 10 most common mistakes the operators are doing, and how to
Yes,
avoid them. So that's
yes,
very
and
valuable.
yeah, in all those years, I have seen a lot of things from starting out in the industry using ledger cards and no computer systems to today having great tools at a very low cost we could use to operate the stores. So today we're going to talk about those 10 most common mistakes in operations and how to avoid them and how to stay out of the attorney's office and stay out of court.
Nice. Well, great. Well, thank you. So yeah, kind of take it away, and I'll jump in when I can.
Sure. Well, last year there were two big lawsuits in the industry. One was an $8 million settlement with Uncle Bob's, which is now called Life Storage.
Yep.
The other one was a $5 million lawsuit with Public Storage about fees. So none of us have an extra $8 to $10 million, so we don't want to make mistakes, and we really want to prevent those mistakes by improving our knowledge base, because knowledge is power. So the 10 mistakes, and I'll run through them real quick, and then we'll chat about each one of them, so as not to bore anyone.
Great.
But number one is, do you know what's in your rental agreement? A lot of operators really have not studied that rental agreement and don't manage per their agreement. And that's kind of the key, the heart and soul, so to speak, of self-storage management. Number two, if you move a customer in right, you'll avoid a lot of problems later. Number three, your state lien law and the timing. That one always gets people tripped up. Number four, is it in your lease? You can't make up fees. Number 5 is collection success. Number 6 is they died, now what? Or you terminated them, and that sets off a whole other set of circumstances. Number 7 is lock down your inventory, and we'll talk about why. And number 8 is a lease on every unit, especially ones that are free and owner's units. And number 9, inspections are critical. And number 10, notes really can save the day. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in with, do you know what your rental agreement says? So my group teases me that I can quote most of the sections of the rental agreement verbatim, and they're correct, because I believe I have just by osmosis ingrained it in my brain. But it's really best if you use your state association's rental agreement. It's usually most up-to-date and compliant with your state laws. Like last week I was in Oklahoma speaking to their state association, and on November 1st, their new state law had gone into effect. Well, most of the audience didn't even know that. They didn't know that they now could collect $20 or 20%, whichever is greater, as their late fee, and now they can send an email notice instead of having to send a certified notice. So those kind of things can cost you a lot of money if you're not keeping up with what's going on in your state. And we all believe here at Universal that most problems will disappear when you train the manager, or if you are the manager, to know the lease. If you know your late fees, the lien laws, the insurance requirements, when and what amount can you charge for late fees, lien fees, denial of access, what does your state say about that? What do you have to do to notify somebody? Is it 30 days notice, or do you have something different? And how does insurance work? So it's real important to have those things down cold, because a great manager can stop that discussion right at the front desk, and it doesn't go any farther. It doesn't get to lawyers or having to call the owner, because we know, for example, that at 6 p.m. on the 5th, that late fee is going to hit the books. And if your money is not in our bank account at 6 o'clock on the 5th, then you're late and you owe the late fee. So we don't leave anything to chance, and we like to be a little more proactive about it than reactive. So very important. For example, most of our leases say that we can terminate a lease 5 days prior to the end of the then current rental period. Well, that's a lot more beneficial than having to give somebody 30 days notice that you want to terminate. So making sure you know what that lease says, real important.
No, I totally agree. And that's just part of the training. Like I said, that's comes with the training process, making sure that's in part of your checklist of really going in and making sure that they're aware of it. And it's not just one and done. I mean, you're the queen of training, but it's ongoing of refreshing of what's in the rental agreement and what the rules and regs are and why they're there in the first place.
Yeah, because if you're active in our industry, every day you're going to get a new tip or learn a new trick that helps you operate better and maybe saves you money or makes you money. And so it's an ongoing process, like you said, when it comes to the training.
Yep.
Number 2 is move them in right and avoid problems later. This one is the example that for a lot of us, we were in the apartment industry before the storage industry. And if you ever moved a customer into an apartment that wasn't ready for them, they start finding problems, and then from then on, they see problems everywhere. It's just like when you go stay in a hotel. If you find one problem, you start looking for others. So we want to move them in right. We call it going over the Vanna White sign or the rule sign. It lets everybody know what the rules are, and it's posted for everybody to see, either on a flat screen that's a rolling PowerPoint, or you can just make an actual sign of it. But then there's no question as to when the late fees are due, what the late fees are, that you're going to get sold if you don't pay within 30 days or a full month. And then we want to make sure our units are ready, that they're super, super clean, that we demonstrate the door, how to open and close a storage door. A lot of customers don't know how to do that. How to use a keypad, how to get in and out of the gate. If you have a kiosk, show them how to use the kiosk. So don't leave anything to chance. And then we believe in signing them up for the auto debit no late fee guarantee program.
Yep.
We don't ask them if they want to. We just put the form in front of them and say, we prefer everyone have our no late fee guarantee. Which credit card would you like to use? And then as long as, of course, as that credit card is valid and not expired, then they'll be guaranteed not to pay any late fees. So it's a nice way to put that.
Oh yeah, yeah. If your movement process is, again, it kind of comes down to a checklist too, but it's efficient. And if you just take an extra few minutes to make sure you set yourself up to success, it just makes everything so much easier on the back end. I mean, there's less collections, there's less calls, there's
Oh,
less
gosh,
everything.
yes. Well, it's just like, in the phone program, when they call into our stores, our first question is, ever rented storage before?
Yeah.
And we think that's the best first question to ask, because then you know what kind of customer you're dealing with. And you don't, either waste time or leave things out based on what do they know. So we like that question first.
Yep.
And our Vanna White or rule sign, like the lady on TV that turns the letters, points out you don't have to. A manager doesn't have to go through every paragraph of the lease. We don't get initials throughout the lease because we want them to sign and accept the entire lease. So our little sign points out when late fees are due that they have to have a lock, they have to keep the keys, they have to have insurance, that they have to rent for a month period, that until their lock is removed, they're going to be charged rent, that they get a $100 sale fee if they're more than a full month past due. They have to give us correct current address and contact information at all times. So there's a rhyme and a reason to these things, as most operators know. And if anyone is interested in getting a copy of our little rules program that we call Vanna White, they can send an email to our company on our contact page and ask for the Vanna White sign, and I'll be glad to send it to them. Most importantly is to remember, especially with independent owners who operate their own stores, one set of rules, not a set of rules for Bubba that you play golf with or your children's teacher, and a different set of rules for somebody that goes to your church. One set of rules for every single person. If they're not paid by that time, charge the late fee, because otherwise you're just training those customers to pay late.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Yep, that's
Okay.
sets us up for success. Exactly, and having a little
That's
sign
right.
like that to go through it, there's no ifs, ands, or buts of where you stand
That's
and
right.
what they're expecting.
Yeah, I tell audiences to just blame that horrible hat woman from Atlanta that she's making you do it, because there's just one set of rules. If you don't pay, then you don't stay, and if you're late, you're going to pay a late fee. And blame me instead of the one in front of the customer.
Perfect.
Number 3 is your state lien law and timing, and I show most of my audiences that there are probably over 1 million responses when you Google wrongful storage auctions.
Ugh.
There's all these lawyers out there wanting to sue storage operators for not following their lien law and timing. And I mean, there's so many websites you can't even count it. So don't get trapped in that and you think, oh, well, nobody cares, I'll just keep the stuff or throw it out. They do care, and a lot of times they know the lien law better than the operator does. So stick to the law, make sure you got it down cold. You can also go to the selfstorage.org, our national association, and look in their public library, and they will let you download a copy of the lien law for every single state. So that's selfstorage.org in the public library, and then just hit the hyperlink for your state and download a copy just to make sure you've got everything right and you're doing it according to what the current law says.
I'm so glad you
We also,
mentioned that, because there's
yeah,
I can't believe how many operators that have been around for years don't know that exists. I'm like,
that's correct.
it's right there.
Yeah. And that they either don't have leases in their files, or the lease is out of date, or they're not operating the way the lease says. So it's so simple these days. If you just get everybody's email at move-in, you can email them a document that says 30 days from now all the old leases are canceled and the new lease is in effect. And whether they come in and sign it or not, if they pay another month's rent, they've accepted the term.
They agreed to it.
And
Yep.
then
Yep.
that's right. And then you can operate under a good, new, up-to-date lease. And it was pretty painless to be able to get that done. So it is important. And questions we want to make sure that as operators we ask is, when you do process for lien law, Check every address in the file. Make sure you get it in writing, not over the phone when they want to change their address. And if they call it in, then just mail them out or email them. Email them. Most of us email them. Just something saying, please confirm your new address for me, because we can accept email as in writing. And then make sure you're running your ads the way that your state law requires them to be run, with the information required by your state. And then check all your payments prior to holding a sale. For example, in Oklahoma last week, they have to have a continuous 30 days of no payments. So I warned them, don't take partial payments. It'll really screw up your lien processing, and it's bad for the customers. So finding out if they're military or not, are they secured creditors, you got to ask all those questions that move in. Make sure you know who you're talking to and what's going on.
Wholeheartedly agree. I'm sure you have too. There's too many horror stories out there. So if you just know what you're doing and have your list, you can avoid all these headaches.
That's right. And then when it comes to your lease, you cannot make up fees that are not in your agreement. I heard a manager do this one day. I almost fainted. I think she just didn't like that customer and was trying to charge him a nuisance fee. But, you should spell out what your cleaning fees are, if you have any. Our lease says that if you make a mess, even though we don't collect a deposit, that we can come after you for up to $100 or actual cost. So, you need something to protect the operator in there. But admin fees, late fees, sale fees, lock cut fees, reservation or transfer fees, mailing fees, that's one we have. If you don't give us an email address, then you have to pay for snail mail, as we call it.
Yep.
So that's $3 a month. Well, why wouldn't you go free with an email address and make it easy on yourself? So those are some examples of some things you might want to check. I know people that charge for package delivery acceptance. We do it for free, but some people do charge. But it's got to be spelled out in your lease agreement.
So are you telling me I need to scratch off my just for spite fee?
Yeah.
Oh, dang it.
Well, that's called a rent increase letter, Jim.
Oh, okay.
You can send them an extra rent increase letter.
Perfect.
Then number 5 is collection success. So, you have to begin as you intend to go forward. So if you move someone in right, and at move-in, after you've sold them boxes, sold them insurance, and done all the things that a great operator does, then you show them your auction calendar. See, Mrs. Jones, we hold an auction every month online for those people who don't pay. And here are the dates. Would you like me to add you to the auction mailing list? And tell her when auctions are coming up so she can participate. That's a great way to convince somebody to pay and not go delinquent, because they've all seen the storage wars on TV. So, you could even show them this month's auction ad. Like this month we're selling Jim Ross in unit 1215, and he's got sporting goods and auto parts, and what else does he have in his unit? Let's see, and we list all the things that he has, and we show them the current legal ad.
You literally pointed out the two things that are so not me: sports and auto parts. But go ahead, carry on. You could have picked two worse things for me. That's hilarious.
That's true. Well, but if you show them a calendar of auction dates and then the current month or your most recent legal ad, it does everything to convince them to pay on time and not go delinquent. Then if you add the second layer of magic, which is the day they rent, handwrite a thank you note, send an email, and make a phone call to verify all that information is correct. If any of that information comes back bad, you overlock them, because your lease says they have to give you true and accurate information.
Yep.
So you don't wait for the money to run out. You go ahead and overlock them when the information is bad. And trust me, that'll get their attention, and you'll be able to avoid the lengthy process of trying to track somebody down that has no working phone numbers and all their mail comes back.
No, that's kind of throwback to the moving process. That's on the manager's end, but yeah, that just sets yourself up for success of saving yourself time down, 30 days from now, having to track them down when rather if it's a bad address from the get-go.
That's right.
And I love having the. I was sorry to interrupt you, but I love having the pointing out when your next auctions are, because there's nothing better than showing that you mean business.
That's exactly right. And I hear, Jim, a lot of operators say to me, I was talking to Lonnie Bickford. He does storageauctions.com. That's, who we use
Mm-hmm.
and does all of our online auctions. And we were talking about operators commonly will say something like, oh, no, I'll wait till I get enough of them to sell. Well, all that
Oh,
time, that customer's just wearing you out. You're not getting any income, and they are um, costing you money to stay there with no payment. All the phone calls you have to make, all those letters you have to send, legal ads. So it's better to just process them every single month and keep your books clean. You can always decide not to hold a sale, but if you don't process them and get those letters out, you don't have an option. So send the letters each month and keep your books clean. We really love that.
yep.
Staying in contact with them. And let's see, you can also, this is something I learned from Tom Litton before he passed away many years ago. We copy the legal ad and enlarge it and highlight their name and put it in a birthday envelope with no return address. And they'll think that somebody who knows them has seen it and mailed it to them anonymously. But everybody opens a birthday envelope, but nobody opens a certified mail.
That's ninja. That's a ninja
See, that
tactic
is
right
ninja.
there. Nice.
So you might try that, especially for a first-time auction customer. That works very well.
Awesome. I love it.
And then if you are still holding live auctions and not online auctions, make a marketing event out of it because most bidders know each other. They've been coming around for a long time, and they actually do sort of collude to keep the price they pay us down. So the more bidders you have come, like give them donuts and coffee in the morning, Cokes and cookies in the afternoon, and, try to turn out a crowd. Go out to the flea markets and antique and junk places and invite them to come to your auctions so that you have a good turnout and a commercially reasonable sale of at least 3 bidders, giving you hopefully a reasonable bid, not just $25.
Yep.
So it's important to, if you're going to have a live auction, turn out a crowd.
Perfect.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
I'll say we can do a whole podcast this episode on that. But
yes, we could. Yes, we could.
Moving on. Let's go.
Moving on. Number 6 is when a customer passes away or you terminate a customer. A couple of things are really important to remember. Just because the person has died, their legal rights did not die. So they still have legal rights. So somebody needs to keep paying for that unit, and you hope that some relative has the code and the key. That's really the instant and easy magic solution, because the customer is no longer with us. They can't give the code or key to anyone now because they passed away. And I've had people show me pictures of the person in the casket, bring me death certificates, bring me divorce decrees. We can't use any of that. Only a judge can tell us with a probated will who can instruct the ownership of the contents. But if somebody's not paying for it, it's going to go to auction. And sometimes that's the only way out. So you really hope that they have a code and the key amongst the family members and that they continue to make the payments so it doesn't go to auction.
Yep.
But just remember, you can't just arbitrarily say, oh, this is the wife or this is the child and give them anything. That's not how it works. You need to call a lawyer on that one. But once you terminate a customer, you cannot take any more money from them. Termination is different than selling somebody at auction. So you have to remember that once the lease is terminated by giving them the termination notice, then you no longer can operate under that lease. And most people will, of course, leave because nobody really wants to be where they're not wanted. But they can be terminated for other than non-payment. Breach of the peace, harassing other customers, making a nuisance of themselves, noise. I mean, it could be anything, throwing trash on the property. So just remember and instruct everybody on your team. If you terminate somebody, you can't take more money for them because then you have a customer who is not under lease. The lease was terminated, so you can't go by the terms of the lease any longer. So just some important things to remember. We like to tell everybody, join maybe the Self-Storage Legal Network where you can call in and get a lawyer's advice, and that's a good one. You can find that at selfstorage.org also, or just Google Self-Storage Legal Network, and they'll be able to help you out.
Perfect.
Number 7, as we come down the home stretch here, is lock down your inventory. I talk to a lot of operators opening new stores, and maybe it's their first one, and I say, well, have you ordered the vacant locks? Oh, that was going to cost me $1 a door. No, we didn't do that. Well, you had better do it, because that is all you have to sell, is the space behind those doors. And we all have had customers who, after hours, wouldn't fit in the unit that they leased and just decided to take one they found open. Well, it can take you forever to figure out who is in that unit. So keep those vacants locked. All occupied units are locked. Anything without a lock is sent a no-lock letter to document that you told them your lease requires the unit to be kept locked. And it is self-storage. You lock it, you keep the key. That's kind of the basic premise of it all. And, you don't want to have unknown residents in units that you're not well documented who is where and why and paying what. So it's important to keep that inventory locked down.
Oh, yeah. And again, I can go on a whole horror stories here. We need to have a podcast where we just trade horror stories the entire time. That would
be
be a blast.
Good. We could scare the bejesus out of the
audience.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. No, I just did an audit not too long ago, and it was a kind of mom and pop, site's been around for a long time, but same thing. They never locked any vacant units. I just did a simple walkthrough, and no doubt there was 25 units that were vacant in the computer, but had the stuff in them, and they're like, well, we don't know. I'm like, oh,
that's right.
My gosh. So it's a
It's
simple
very hard to figure that out once someone has occupied a unit that's off books. All right, number 8 is a lease on every unit, especially ones that are free. We all like to be part of our community and do something maybe for the Boy Scouts or the Little League or the church or someone. Yeah. So giving a free unit is not, out of the ordinary in the storage business. But even if someone is not paying for a unit, they need to be on a lease. You need someone who is agreeing to your terms and conditions, and we make sure that even the free units have to pay for the insurance. Our managers pay for the insurance on their unit. Free or charity units pay for the insurance, because that way everybody has peace of mind, and it allows you to control the activities even when there's no rent. So, like I said, managers' units, charity units, owners' units, all should have leases, and it avoids confusion about the contents. If your manager wins the lottery and takes off and you don't know what's behind those locked doors, there's no lease in the file, that also can be a nightmare. So you really want to avoid that. And our managers are authorized to sign for the owner's units and for their units, just as long as something's in the file saying who that unit belongs to.
Makes total sense. Yep, easy.
And then what you mentioned, inspections, number 9. Inspections really are critical. Frequent space audits are required. As a matter of fact, we ask for 2 full detailed space audits a week. The managers save that paperwork for their supervisors, and you can do your walkthroughs now on a tablet if you wanted to, whether you do it in paper or on a tablet. It just verifies that we don't have any mystery units, any off-book units, which is unfortunately an item of theft in our industry, and it rewards managers who do a great job. So I was taught by Mr. Kilgore, who was my mentor in the storage business, to do surprise inspections twice a year. We called the store about an hour and a half before arriving, said unlock all the vacants and all the company units, and he would ride his little car up and down those aisles as I checked doors, and the managers were so proud because they kept everything in great condition, and he really gave them a nice attaboys for and some little bonuses for having such a great vacant inspection. So that's kind of how you want to keep it. All vacants should be rent ready and ropes on the handles clean in good order, and if it has a light in it, that should be working and clean as it can be. So it just helps you confirm the lock status on all your doors and that your paperwork is in order. And then anyone who's marked overlock on your operating system should also be gate locked. This is another little point I find when I'm doing audits, and I'm sure you see it too. They make exceptions for customers. Oh, well, they've got more than one unit, or oh, I know they'll come in to pay. Well, yes, they will because I'm locking them out of the gate and their unit until they pay. And any late unit is considered all late units in our lease. So make sure you know how your lease handles multiple unit customers and that late fee situation. And it helps you find maintenance issues and things that you need to repair while you're doing a good space audit. You make notes between the units about where you discovered, a roof is leaking, a door's out of the curtain is falling out of the tracks, a hasp is broken, and that helps you make better use of your time. Failing to audit your site and your files really invites theft and it invites disasters. And I'm sure we could probably do another show on just that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, it goes on. And a lot of times, what I found is really once you do it the first couple times, it can take longer. It does, especially if the site's kind
Yes,
of in total mismanagement. But after you start getting more frequent and getting things in order, it's more of just a touch up, just seeing how things are going. It doesn't take that much, but
absolutely.
you can catch the red flags before it goes on and on and on.
And no skipping anything. Every single door has to agree with what the report says, or we're
Yep.
reporting it.
Yep.
This one's supposed to be vacant. It's got a customer lock on it. So I'm calling with my cell phone up to the office, going, "What's the story?" And they had better just leased it. And well, it still would be in the computer then. So, making sure that you have a real Zen moment there of agreement between the physical units, the computer reporting of those, and the files. And that's kind of the goal of good management, is keep those three things in balance.
Yep. That's why we get paid the big bucks, right?
That's right. That's
All
right.
right.
And then lastly, notes can really save the day. If you document all the correspondence with your customers, and thankfully our software really can take care of most of this,
Yeah.
and don't just, when you're calling for collections calls, don't just put down left voicemail. If they call you back and say, "Oh, I'll come in this weekend to pay," then say, "Good. Are you coming Saturday or Sunday?" They pick one of those days. Then, "Good. Are you coming in the morning or the afternoon?" So get a specific commitment from them, not just, "I'll be in this weekend." It really does a much better job of actually getting them to come in. And make sure your lease says things that like they must maintain true and accurate information at all times. And great notes really help other team members handle situations correctly. Like if you've put in their notes that we're getting complaints about this customer, and please don't take any more partial payments from this customer. They're now in lien sale process. Things that help your other team members out. And notes do not have to ever be shown to the customer. These are internal documents for us as management to use to make good decisions on. And then when replying to a customer call about anything, especially if they call about a rent increase letter or they have a problem, the number one thing to say is always, "Let me check your file." And then whoever's on duty can check their file, look at their ledger, look at their notes before making any commitments or comments. Because the notes and the ledger really will tell you which way you want to go with this customer. This customer's been paid late fees 18 times this year, and they only pay when we process them for lien sale 4 times a year. And for that kind of customer that got a rent increase letter, I might even do something like, "Oh, well, your rent increase letter was really supposed to be more than that. I'm so glad you called. I'll get that new letter out to you today." So judge everything by what's in their file. If they've been your perfect customer, have never paid late, and don't cause any problems, that's the person you really want to bend backwards for, not the one who's always late and who always causes a problem. So let me check your file is the way to save the day for the customer.
Yep, definitely. And notes. When in doubt, write it down, make a note. Because I just think of it as, okay, it's a brand new manager at that site, or it's a relief manager that isn't there every single day. Well, odds
Yeah.
are something comes out that day that's on that relief manager. Well, that's all the notes is all they have to go off of. So the more information they have, the better.
Absolutely. And then, just remember, stay out of your attorney's office by arming yourself with complete product knowledge, because for all of us, the more you know, the better. And don't, like in the storage business, we have to not guess or rely on rumor. And that's big in the storage business. Well, I heard from so-and-so at a conference, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. You really got to have it down cold. So we tell our managers they have permission to call the expert if they're ever unsure or something really wild happens on the property. We call Scott Zucker, because he's here in Atlanta and we've known him a long time.
Yeah.
So just remember that don't take chances that could cost a fortune. And we love our attorneys, but you can practice safe storage and stay out of court by being informed and active in your industry.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll be. You mentioned some of these links. I'll make sure I put all these links in the show notes for everybody. So make it very easy. Well, you've hit top 10 is great. Thank you for doing that.
We got through it.
We did.
We got through it.
But I have one question here I wrote down it's important. So I'm making it number 11. I got. And only you can answer it. How many hats do you own? You're the hat lady.
Oh my gosh.
Every time I see you, you got a new hat. So this is important. Everyone wants to know.
I would say probably over 200.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's too many.
I wrote down 50. I was way off.
Well, I probably, Jim, have about 50 that I love to wear all the time. So I get guilty of like your favorite pair of pants or your favorite shoes. You wear them all the time. But I have a lot of them in my closet, as a matter of fact.
I love it. It's great. Even on your books, you write the hat lady. So no, that's perfect.
That's right.
That's great. So again, I'm sure everyone listening to this, quite honestly, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. We threw a lot at you in a short period of time. If people want to get more information on your services and what you do and that kind of stuff, how do they get a hold of you?
They can visit universalstoragegroup.com. And each of our leadership team are featured in the website and linked to our email addresses or contact us page. So you can send us a message or call us or email me or whatever you might need. But just go to universalstoragegroup.com and check it out.
Perfect. Easy enough. Well, again, thank you so much for being gracious with your time and going over that. It was really valuable.
Jim, you are most welcome. What a thrill to get to be with you today, and I hope everybody has a wonderful, safe, and happy Thanksgiving.
Perfect. Great. Well, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks so much for watching. We'd love to give away free books that will help your self-storage business. To pick up your free copy of Self-Storage Domination, the actions you must take to dominate your competition, simply go to selfstoragedomination.com.